So nice to do our first After Dark right after SOS. And let me just take these banners off real quick. Put this one on. Greetings to my friends. Greetings to everyone watching. Robert and Darshan both restreaming. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know you don't have enough followers, so we just have to support you as much as we can.
Thank you, man. It's very helpful. Thank you for wearing the Cold Summer shirt, everyone except Chris.
Right.
Really appreciate it. Chris Auber. Come on, man.
He's having a warm summer.
He's having it is warm here, but it's metaphorically very cold. Darshan and I be getting into some politics on our live streams, and we lose followers every time we do it. It works. Works well. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
We got a great icebreaker. We got Robert Goldman, aka your nickname earned its wings this SOS.
It did.
I got it. It's commendable, man. First of all, what's the story behind the sponsor? Like, who gave you this nickname?
Darshan.
Darshan gave you that.
Yes, I think he's the first one who coined it, and it kind of stuck, which I'm not necessarily. I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest, guys. I don't know.
How was it intended, Darshan? What was the emotion?
I can't remember my name. Are you really asking me to remember how I nicknamed Robert?
Well, Robert remembers.
Yeah, so let's have him tell us.
I really don't, though. I'd be totally confabulating a story that
let's make one up.
True.
So we were hiking through Everest.
This is a revisionist.
We were talking about sponsors for a hike, and we met a Yeti. And it said sponsor Monster, and he thought I was talking about him, but it was true.
Is the Yeti a metaphor for a PI or a site or a big pharma?
No, it's a giant glass mug that you can drink out of.
It's a regulator. Robert, you've been experiencing. You've been putting yourself in the shoes of a site. So you're affectionately known as a sponsor monster, but you're really the site's BFF.
I am. I'm a site advocate.
I know you are, but other people don't. They think you're sponsor monster.
I think sponsor monster did discover his limits, though, because there were people coming up there with all kinds of weird shenanigans at SOS. And they were like, yeah, Robert, tell us you support us. He's like, I don't think I can support you on this one.
What was the main issue?
Well, I remember one where they were like,
I know you had issues with everything, but like,
was that?
I know you had issues with a lot of it, but like the ones where they had issues with Robert.
No, I think there was one, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but they were like, we want to be able to share all of our data or something like that. And we're just like, no, you can't do that. If like paying above fair market value because we think that that's okay. I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's one. We had another one where, well, the sponsor said we could, so I'm going to go against the standard of what the protocol says, and we're going to completely deviate just because I go, since when is the sponsor some authoritative figure that you just listen to what they say, regardless of whether it's right or wrong? I mean, like, where did this come from? And you know who you are if you're watching this. Come on, let's get it together.
We're selling the replays next week or this week. We have all the replays for sale, $50 each. So
ooh,
help us out. We actually thinking of putting out a tip jar.
Omni.
No more.
No, because of the Omni.
Yeah, because of that. I'm not speaking those words ever again. Okay, so Robert, you've been putting yourself as our icebreaker today.
Yeah.
As much as you feel like you want to share.
Yeah. So, I started to use a Patient Ace. Big shout out to Ronick and Patient Ace, Dan.
Ronick's a machine.
Really is. And I did this like test pilot campaign as a sponsor, and just to gather some data to make sure that we're well positioned to kick off.
Wait. We gotta.
Chris is already here.
We gotta color the picture correctly. Robert had his doubts, so let's continue.
No. You see, Chris, you're absolutely wrong. I did not have the doubts. It was there
was doubts somewhere in the picture.
It was somebody that's above me that I report to that had their doubts.
Somewhere on the blockchain we can find them.
Somewhere on the blockchain had their doubts. And just look, this is it's a crazy therapeutic area. It's something I wish I could talk about it here, but I can't. It's not pleasant. Okay. So there. I mean, he had some,
it's a motivated audience that
it was a valid like concern. Hey, are you sure this is going to work? Are you sure we're going to be able to do this? I mean, here comes another one. I mean, they're just nonstop.
I think Darshan
Anyway,
says you broke a law right there.
well, there was nothing. There was completely
Darshan,
nothing there.
we assure you everything's fine.
I'm not paying attention. I have no idea what's going on.
We're good.
No HIPAA.
So yeah, honestly, I mean, the reaction to this campaign has been off the chart. My hat is off, literally, to the CRCs at the site who actually triage this stuff at the same time of dealing with CRAs, at the same time of completing source, at the same time of completing EDC, at the same time of fielding other patients, filing papers, ISF maintenance, IP reconciliation. Guys, I truly am spent from just one day. This campaign launched at 6:00 this morning. It is now 7:53 Pacific Standard. So we're talking a little bit over 13, 14 hours. I'm drained. Like I am absolutely.
Robert's doing all the what?
I'm doing the pre-screening. I'm doing the referral leads. I'm contacting these patients. I'm talking to them.
That's a full-time job.
It is literally a full-time.
Because it's not a quick convo. Like they'll tell you their life story. Mm-hmm. This is where you start needing attorneys, but they start telling you all this shit, and then
I had 15-minute blocks set out. Every call was 25 to 35 minutes, and you genuinely feel for these guys and gals, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, and you start to get invested in their story. And so guys, I literally have 13 phone calls scheduled for tomorrow, which is wild.
Insane, man. That's a full day's. That's like Darshan's morning. That's Darshan's breakfast.
AI. AI is going to respond to all of it for you.
Well, that's the thing. They all think it's AI, but then when they get me on they're like, are you a bot? And I'm like, nope.
Nope. I'm just the sponsor monster. How can I help you? To whom may I refer you today?
Yeah. So honestly, hats off. In all honesty, seriously, like our CRCs, I've said this all like even before I had this experience, I've always said, I mean, this is everybody says this, but I just think I wish we could do something about it.
And you know what's crazy about this example? So thank you for the Patient Ace plug.
Yeah.
Complexity, the ceiling of breakthroughs is complexity. So the fact that, you have 16 calls scheduled, for example, the fact that you can make that 160 if you wanted, it's just money. Like that's the lever.
Yeah.
So the complexity becomes, how do you organize this stuff? How do you train people to speak like you would? That's the ceiling to smash through to the next level. And then at the same time, these coordinators are super busy. Most sites like mine, sometimes we have an admin, usually not. The coordinators are recruiting for their own studies. You can streamline it, but even then, the decision has to be made. How many staff do you want to dedicate this pre-screening? Do you want to increase the ads? Like, that's the lever. The lever is money.
Yeah.
That's the easiest part. The hard part, the complexity, is all the stuff you're experiencing tomorrow. Like, how could you go from 16 calls tomorrow to 160?
Yeah.
I mean that would take a lot of work.
Yeah, resources, time, and money. And it's funny because I actually had some help. Like they were like, "Oh, do you want me to help you?" And it's like, well, how do I even have enough time to train you to get you to a point where you could help?
Yeah,
I might as well just do it myself, and I don't even have the time to train somebody up to actually help me. But honestly, it's unbelievable. I don't know how. But Dan, I will say, back like 10, 12 years ago, monitoring days, I would say that the most successful sites are those who had actual recruitment departments where they had people coming in for the sole, position of finding, these leads and which study they plug into the best that they're being, that the study court, the center is doing. And that alone is really just a complete separate department. And I really don't see how sites can actually keep up with the current infrastructure unless you have a dedicated resource. Maybe you have a better answer. I don't know.
I learned there's a term for that. So there's sites like YCT is it's called subscaled sites, subscale, meaning we haven't scaled all of our functions. So we're still relying on generalists to do kind of We don't have like a centralized regulatory, centralized budget. We have Chris that does our budgets, but he's more of a fractional employee as opposed to something that we've built internally, right? And like the majority of sites, 90% of sites operate at the subscale level. And so, and another point, I wonder how many sponsors, what would a typical sponsor learn just doing 1 week of what you did today and what you're about to do tomorrow? And why don't they do it?
Because they have lives.
Because they have what, Darshan?
Because they have lives.
Yeah.
They got their own shit to do.
But isn't their job their life? Like,
I mean, Darshan, I have a lot of shit to do, but I mean, I had to experience this for myself, literally.
Darshan, would you do it?
I'd do anything. If I can save some money, I will do anything.
To learn.
Eh.
At least he's honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that I can assume can be done. It's just at some point, it's just a manpower issue. Which, again,
right, but it's the correct manpower. So it's not just like hiring people. It's you have to build a training system.
I'll work at a gas station if I have to. Trust me.
You own a gas station, man.
Exactly.
That was like a softball. You gave me one to give it back to you. You own the gas stations, Darshan. Or do you still have it, or are the tariffs?
I'm trying to sell this thing.
But you still have it, and you still pop in once a week to make sure inventory is tight.
No, I have someone else pop in.
Are you having any import issues?
Okay.
Are you having import issues?
Import issues? Not yet. Not yet.
What import issues on the Doritos? What kind of import issues do we have?
I don't know what kind of gas station we're talking about.
They make Doritos in China, and then they send them over here. I don't freaking.
Well, you have condoms, so they're made in China.
There's so many jokes. I'm gonna just stop.
I'm sure you have some of that. Yeah, B52 speed pills.
Oh yeah, do you sell them over the counters that are not FDA regulated?
Clinical trials.
No, Darshan, this is after dark. Regulated. This is after dark. There is no relevance here. That's
Darshan,
Darshan, what kind of OTC pharmaceuticals are you selling at your gas station? I'd love to know the list.
Because everything's over the counter. By definition, everything's over the counter.
Is there anything in the gray area?
No,
like Kratom, for example.
We don't sell Kratom.
Okay, you don't. Well, a lot of gas.
Is that a philosophical decision, or just like it doesn't?
No, my partner never got to it, and I was just too busy to handle that shit.
How about CBD, Darshan? Do you sell any CBD products?
No. Ashley, look,
Ashley.
Marco. Very nice to see you there. Here,
very nice to see you.
Look at the lady.
We should make a trip before you sell it. Like we should do a meetup at your gas station.
Really,
guys? I told you one of Darshan's new pods. 20.
Meet me at pump 9.
Yo,
and we'll
20
do
on pump 4.
20 on pump 4.
And we all listen. We're gonna all huddle. Damn, we'll bring Daniel Rodriguez with us. Yeah, we'll set up a table at pump 4. Darshan, is there
it might blow up. It might.
You got 45 days.
Shot and robbed, or robbed and shot.
You got 45 days, of which 20 days I'm actually not even in the country.
Okay, we can make it happen, Darshan.
We'll make it work, man.
Some of us have pilot's license. We don't need to talk about that.
You got Callan Lee, right?
We can get there. But Darshan, imagine this. Is there a pump 4? There is a pump 4.
There is a pump 4.
There's got to be a pump 4.
Okay, so exactly. I wasn't, getting crazy here. And we set up shop at pump 4. If the weather's breaking, it's gonna. I mean, I'm all for
breakout session at pump 2.
What's the neighborhood like?
Tell us the neighborhood a little bit.
It's in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania.
Where?
Okay.
Willow Grove, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Is
it's
nice
right
there?
off the turnpike, off the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Let's Google this. Willow Grove.
What are the Google reviews of his gas station?
I'm not telling you which one.
The owner's an asshole, is what it's.
Pretty much.
He tells us we're not compliant every time we pump our gas.
He's got the pumps fixed. It doesn't actually give me a full gallon. I get about 3/4 of a gallon.
He's the pump Nazi. He says you can't use your cell phone here. You're gonna blow up.
Oh, that's what they say about all airplanes. One of you is a pilot. You know that.
We did a video on the airplane. That was pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah.
I was thinking of getting my pilot's license, and then I realized I'm too cheap to buy it.
Robert has one.
Yeah. Look me up, Darshan, on the FAA database. I'm right there, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? If Brown guy goes and gets a FAA database pilot's license, I'm not sure I want to start.
That's true. You're right.
Hey, you got a career as a stand-up comedian, man. So, okay, why do sponsors not do this then, Robert? Like you do it. I know other sponsors.
I think let's be honest here. I was not in a position that I actually sought out to do this.
Exactly.
I'm going to be very real with you. I was kind of, I had to do
saving
this.
money.
No, not at all. It was literally data gathering exercise for various reasons. But man, am I happy I've done it. So if any of my other fellow sponsor representatives are out there watching this video now or later, or 2 to 3 years from now, whenever, try it. Like, try to do a task that inundates you, just so you can level set yourself and bring yourself back to like planet Earth. Like, seriously.
All right, check this out. So Chris, who's the site owner here, he's been very quiet. Chris, I'm gonna get you involved here. If a sponsor wanted to shadow you at the site for a day, what would they take away going back to the mothership? What would they think?
Hopefully
Would
not
they
me.
think? Would they think this is a house of cards, or would they think, man, I just learned a bunch of ways we can help sites? Would they gain anything from spending a week at your site? I think if they came to my site or at just about any site, they would walk away thinking, how the hell do we come out with anything? Like, how does this work?
Well, obviously it would depend on the site, right? So a busy site, many studies, they would wonder that. Slower site, maybe not. I mean, it would just depend on the site they visited. If they were to go to your site right now that you're primarily responsible for sure they would take that away. If they went to the site that we have one PI at that's not too productive,
Yeah,
they would probably think, they don't do shit around here.
business as usual. It's like this is no different than the NIH. They should be slashed.
Yeah, exactly. So it would depend. But yeah, I mean, Robert's finding out, yeah, they would be probably surprised at a busier site how much activity there is and what they have to account for. And you're not even going into emails that coordinators have to deal with. That's also very burdensome.
The next time I ask a site to go check the ePro, I'm gonna think twice. That's all I'm saying. Literally, I'm being honest.
Going on your previous this is how you connect dots, though, from your previous project to your new one. Like, your memory is not erased; you carry that with you, right?
I mean, the next time I come down on a site or tell the CRO to do, like, I'm gonna be like, I'm really, really gonna approach it in a completely different manner. Darshan, the sponsor monster might have just died. I don't know. Like because of today.
Is tech the savior?
I'm not worried.
It'll come back. I know.
No, Darshan is never going out of business.
Well, they're saying lawyers are going to be first out of business with ChatGPT, so we'll find out.
I think it'll be accountants.
I texted you guys today. I was listening to this former Google CEO. I don't know his name. The one prior.
Schmidt?
Older white dude. He was saying when ASI hits the market, and he expects that in 6 years, that anyone with intellect is no longer going to have a job. They won't be needed, period.
I feel like we said that about cars. We said that about industrialization.
But that's different, right?
Is it?
Well, ASI, so AGI is intellect at a human level. The computer can operate. AGI is operation at a human level. ASI is at the smartest level of any human being ever in every industry.
Do you know what the level above that is?
God.
There
Singularity.
It's God. There's this book.
Okay, well, they're saying in 6 years. That's what this dude said.
No, it's never gonna happen. You got to read this. Gödel, Escher, Bach, right? Human intellect, machines can never replace it, at least in our lifetimes. The whole point of being human is recognizing patterns, but outside of the system. Mm-hmm. So machines can't do that yet. The AI
what if we
has
actually
to be
are machines?
Well, that's a whole different story. I mean, I saw some shit in my mushroom trip. I could tell you about that.
That's what AGI is, though, Dan. That's what AGI is.
So AGI would have to step out of the system it's in to observe from outside.
Have you guys been talking to Maureen lately?
So AGI is being able to. AGI is enabled to recognize a problem they haven't dealt with before and find a solution.
But it's more than that. So it's solving problems within the system. Yes, that's like
this is outside the system. This is something they haven't dealt with. They can break down the probabilities of each system that they're designing and what's the likelihood of success, which is essentially what humans do, but on a much slower scale, lower level, lower scale. And AGI is going to do that a little faster. And then ASI is supposedly going to be doing that quantums ahead of AGI.
I think that's a lifetime away.
Musk actually came out and said, what if humans were actually a booting process for computers and not the other way around?
Yeah.
So
Well-
biological systems are just setting it up for computers to take over. But I don't think that's what it is. I mean, not yet, at least. I see it being more, we're going to scale, and we're going to find unique places that we fit in. I don't think this is the matrix that's happening. It could, but I don't think that's where we're headed.
Well, think
well-
of the industry. Everybody thinks the worst of both worlds. So new technology, everything's done.
Right.
But then they don't also account for the infrastructure that brings that you can't even imagine. So when cars came out, no one thought gas station, and here we are interviewing a gas station owner. Like,
Right.
who would have thought with the horse and carriage gas stations? Nobody. And
Well,
all
you'll-
the other stuff that came with that.
Sure, you'll still have manual labor.
No, but you'll have things that assist the AI that we haven't thought of that are human activities.
Provided
Guys,
you
I
electricity.
love the post that Darshan just posted about AI. By the way,
I was off LinkedIn today. What happened?
no, it wasn't today. It was like a couple days ago.
Bring your
But
own tech. Was that the one?
It was. It
That
was
a
an
spicy one.
I love it.
BYOT.
He's like, here's everything AI is violating.
Are you gonna
Is it that
sue
one?
AI next?
Now,
But they're legitimate, Dan. In all honesty, they're legitimate. Like, I loved what he wrote.
thank you.
I'm just telling you, I do. It's like,
You wrote a good post.
because guys, listen, seriously. Like, I think about this all the time. How many of my sites are literally uploading confidential information to some AI tech tool that they're using, which is a complete violation of the CDA?
Probably all of them.
It's
How is that
complete violation
different than-
of the
But
CTA.
Robert, how is that different than emailing a protocol to somebody else?
Why are Dan and
we're
I
going
both
to
blurry?
Gmail.
Multiple ways.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I'll let Darshan handle that, but I can postulate.
Wait, did I
out
have
what
too much
believe to be the
whiskey or is
difference.
Chris blurry?
We're both blurry. You're blurry too.
No,
I'm
you're
blurry?
No, Safar's okay.
Safari's clear.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
Chris-
blurry on my screen.
Chris, you're
Well,
blurry.
Chris,
man.
how much did you have to drink?
I
man?
think he's
didn't
right.
even
I guess,
remember.
I guess too much.
I think Chris's wine glass needs to be refilled.
Yeah, it is empty.
So how is it different than emailing a Gmail? Let's say 90% of sites use Gmail.
Well, Gmail is not using the protocol information to populate some sort of
How do you know? But
streamlined.
they're keeping it.
Well, Darshan, you want to chime in here? I'm not good at arguing this stuff. I just know there's a problem.
I think Darshan's buffering, or he's stuck.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my connection. Even though I have a hard connection from Verizon that's supposed to be a 1 terabit connection, I still have problems. Can
Man,
you still
that's
hear
a
me?
humble flex.
No, I'm saying that it sucks. Verizon sucks, but give me better connections.
I'm just messing with you, man.
I know. I've had problems.
have
Chris, you're not
Wait,
blurry
wait.
anymore,
So
man.
you have a T1 line?
No, the T1s are old school.
So is it
It's
T3?
BIOS now.
Darshan's at like T5 right now.
Yeah, man.
No, they went to T3 and then they stopped.
Oh. Well,
Even his gas
You're
station.
talking hardcore, like not 2003 is when we were talking T1s, T2s, T3s.
Well, T1 was a constant 1 terabyte. It wasn't supposed to fluctuate, right? So what's T3?
I never freaking got to T1. I remember my college used to have T1 lines, and we were like, "This is incredible."
Yeah, well, because it doesn't fluctuate. It's the same bandwidth at all times.
I just remember getting into college, like we'd get in early, and we'd have access to all the downloads we could do. So I was downloading movies at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Darshan, can we
I mean, it is after dark. We
Can we get to the question? Though? I'm really curious. Like Dan says, how is it any different than emailing a protocol?
I think the big difference is, well, multiple big differences. So number one, in the end, the choice to violate is on the sponsor, not on the site. The IP belongs to the sponsor. So whether or not the sites are exchanging it, it's the sponsor's choice to make, not the sites. That's number one. Number two, when you actually take that IP and you manipulate it, there's a difference between I'm sending something to I'm conceding that you can manipulate it. And that's what AI is doing. Number three, you explicitly know that you can't put it up onto these sites. That's why you sign the CDA, you sign the CTA. That's not what you're doing here. You're going against what is explicitly in your agreement.
So the issue is not the data leak, because that's consistent with email as well. It's the getting the derivative product from.
Correct. All that stuff that you're going, yes, let someone else do what they want with it. And it's not yours to offer that. Now, the sponsor
So-
could do exactly that same thing. and that'd be totally okay.
Well, I mean, they're doing it internally too.
But they are, but that's theirs to do, right? I can't tell you what to do
Right.
with your book or with your podcast. But if I go out there and create my own Dance Affair podcast, there's a problem.
Well, if you were like hired by me to help me grow,
But I wasn't hired by you. You hired me to do a job for you.
mhm.
And now I'm deciding that what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take the podcast, I'm going to do whatever I want with it and create my
can't you?
own.
Unless
What's
he's,
that?
but
Can
can't
too.
you? Unless he, well, you can take his podcast if it's not copyrighted, can't you?
Actually,
Well, if
by
I hire
definition-
Darshan, like, hey, help me, I'm gonna hire you to manage, like, to make my podcast better. I don't care what you do.
But see, no one says I don't care what you do. In fact, they're explicitly saying I do care what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do care what you do. You cannot.
So
Correct.
to
give this
Darshan's
people-
point, I genuinely do have concerns about what sites are doing that I don't know about with
What's your
AI
concern? Though?
tools.
Like, what's your main concern with that?
You know, Dan, it's just training these, different LLM models, right? That's A. B, it's the leak of like really just confidential information that we don't want the world to know.
Or at least
Um,
not at that point.
or at that point, right? And we're engaging in certain sites who are coming to the table, bringing a site voice, a previous investigator voice, previous participant voice, and look, even if it's just for a simple thing of, hey, AI, here's the protocol, give me some source documents that something as innocent as that. I mean, look, I have genuine concerns. I don't know if I can list them what they are, but
That's why he hires me.
You have
Yeah,
philosophical
right.
concerns.
and my spidey sense just says this doesn't feel right, and really I don't know how to control that when you're running a global phase 3 study.
And in
with
fairness,
60 to 90 sites.
you are the sponsor, so that's your right to feel that way. You're not
Yeah.
like a neutral third party observer. That's your product, your IP.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the counter side is every stakeholder has always feared new innovation, and then everyone uses it.
But that's not really your choice to make.
No, I know. I'm not making it. I may or may
Right.
not be doing this.
Right.
I was on a panel. I don't do anything at the site right now. I just like give people pep talks.
The
He's a cheerleader.
He's the hype guy.
Yeah, hype man. You can do this. I believe in you. Let's screen some patients.
And I
But
just
seriously,
pre-
I mean, I
Sorry.
really, Chris, I mean,
Sites
I'm
may or
sorry.
may not be uploading protocols to make source documents.
my concern wasn't even. I mean, the fact that sites are doing it is problematic enough. It's the fact that tech vendors are coming on and saying, "Go do that." We
Correct.
don't care what you're saying. We're recommending you go do that anyways.
So what'd
It's
you
not
think
your
of
business.
what'd you think of the panel at SOS on AI? I was on it. I was the moderator.
I don't know if I remember that specific one.
I think you asked the question. They gave out like prompts for different tasks, and they gave out they're starting an open source best practices SOP.
Oh, see, that was the one I had a issue with, where people are saying, "Let's talk best practices." There's nothing wrong with best practices, even though the FTC actually just came out recently and opined on what best practices should be. There's a definition to that, and you can't just go around making up stuff. That we can get into Preeti's question.
Preeti says, what about use of eSource? Isn't when I make a source on Creo a derivative of Robert's protocol?
No, but
No.
Creo's not using it to make their own AI and make their own product out of it. They're using
Right.
it
They make their own
to better their
product.
product. But
They make their own product.
they're not using your protocol to do that.
They're storing
That's-
it.
Storing it is fine.
They're letting you manipulate
And-
it however
and-
you want within it.
I'm sorry, repeat that for me.
They're letting you manipulate your interpretation of that protocol
That's-
however you
Well,
want.
but
They're
Dan,
not allowing an
'cause-
AI to do that.
Right, they're using
Not yet.
they're using central eSource templates, which are standardizing. It's no different than the sponsor providing templates back in the day. Source documents, which
That was
frowned
nice.
upon.
I gotta admit that was
And I think the industry is actually moving back that way,
I hope
and it's gonna create some consistency across all the sites. What Creo specifically is doing is they're allowing the sites to use a central eSource template to minimally collect the required data as if we were giving you source documents that correlate to the EDC, right? And we're not even talking a DDC model; we're talking strictly eSource here, right?
yeah, eSource.
So in the context of eSource, that is no different than the source document that we would provide. And minimally, it's no different. CRAs are going to check it to make sure it has the minimal required data points as it pertains to the EDC, because the eSource is not a complete, in the Creo case, it's not there is some integration between pushing the data into the EDC with mapping and things like that. But eSource, is, to Darshan's point, is not manipulating the IP to change anything. It's literally verbatim based on the SOA in which you would normally create source for any study.
Do you think sponsors are actually concerned, like truly
Yes.
concerned about this?
Yes.
Like, is it top 3 concerns right now?
I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of concerns they're dealing with.
I think, yeah, there's, I mean, I know my top 3, and, you know, I don't think this is in the top 3 for me, but I think it's certainly in the top 10. Yeah. I just think, you know, it's important to be aware of what you're doing. And really, I think you're going to see, maybe you'll see some sort of, you know, crackdown. You know, sponsors are going to become more vocal about this once they become aware of this. Because look, you go to ChatGPT and you ask questions about proprietary things that are really not public, and you start to see, like, wow, where the hell did this information come from? It's not, you know, the data sources where it's pulling from. I mean, it starts to become very apparent already to me. Not disclosing anything confidential in which I'm doing, but I do kind of test the waters a little bit, and what it spits out is, I'm like, where is it even getting this from? I don't know the answer.
Do you think there's a world where we go the other way, where like these things are so ubiquitous, everyone's doing it, you can't police it, sponsors just open source their protocol?
Well, if what's his name? Musk has his way, he's getting rid of all IP, right?
That's what
Oh,
he
there you
wants.
go. Okay.
That's what he wants.
Wow.
Him and someone else.
I mean, it'll shut down the entire pharmaceutical industry.
The former
at that
owner
moment.
Shut down?
It'll shut it down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The former owner of Twitter said the same.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey?
Dorsey said the same thing, yeah. Dorsey is actually the one who actually proposed it. I think it's stupid.
Wait, does the protocol really matter that much? Isn't it
Yes.
more than isn't it more than investigator brochure?
It's all of it. In the end, they're
I don't really know how much the protocol really matters in terms of protection. I mean, there's no description of how the IP is made. What it's the
That's not the basis of it. They're
schedule
looking
of
for competitive
events
advantages.
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, I don't know what kind of competitive advantage you're going to get off reading a protocol personally.
Well,
Chris, I'll tell you. Actually, I'm actually dealing with this kind of right now. You will get a competitive advantage. So, for example, let's say there's some genre flavor of medicine that is not as fluid, or is not, there's not so much data around, right? Let's say it's a new indication, whether it's cell therapy, gene therapy, and you're doing something specific to a gender or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just say, for example, that there's a very minimal precedence for this certain protocol design, but a certain company, N of 1, has gotten approval for a phase 2 trial under an IND, or even a phase 3 trial, right? Registrational, and that data is now in clinicaltrials.gov. I can go in there and understand, oh, well, here's their design, here's their eligibility criteria, knowing FDA approved this to proceed. And then I can use that competitively to my advantage to kind of model my protocol under that same structure, to know that, okay, if I use this minimally, this eligibility criteria, and I go to my EOP2 meeting, or I go to my phase 2 project team, and I'm requesting, to get this study in alignment, maybe I'm requesting a SPA, maybe I'm not, I do have a competitive advantage because I have looked at something.
So you're easing the pathway to the FDA approval for your study.
Absolutely. Okay. It's not an approval. It's a permission to proceed. But yeah.
Sure. You get what I'm saying. But that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
This is a previously approved study by
Just to answer Preeti's question, though, she's like, can we use the visit schedule to make budget with the help of AI?
Yeah.
Probably not, because you still have to upload the protocol.
Just
we're also not talking about Australia, because she said that she's in Australia, so we can't speak to Australian law.
Well, Preeti, guess what? I'm actually doing trials in Australia as we speak.
Here's your Aussie counterpart.
And you say, like, can you please share if such an SOP? Dan, can you put on her other question? Thanks for addressing my question. Can you please share if such an SOP is shared in the USA? I mean, Preeti, we don't have, an SOP is an SOP is specific to an organization. It's not a standard per, CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations in the United States. Of course, the guidance, there's guidance out there around the use of AI. And I just actually met with, big shout out to Dr. Ali Imran. You guys know I had lunch with him the other day. He is the first PI who is board certified by the American Medical Association for AI in the Use of Medicine. ABAIM, board certified. Darshan, literally, I was like, mind blown about this. And he's, creating a very unique company that is really centered around removing all of the administrative work at the site level. That it's a very interesting concept, and it completely contradicts everything that we say here, because really, as a site, he comes at it, well, I'm an independent contractor and I can do what I want, and I can kind of employ this methodology and these SOPs at the site level, and I can alleviate the administrative burden of everything I have to do. So, I'm, going to use this. I do think that he has an intention on seeking sponsor approval to do this, which I think is the differentiator here. He's not trying to do this under the radar. What's that?
I think that's the key portion. He's getting sponsor approval.
He is.
If you're saying that I'm an independent contractor, that has nothing to do with whether you can use the data or not. People are conflating different terms. People are saying things like they know. What I noticed in many cases where people are just using terms because they felt it makes you sound important. Yeah. Those terms have nothing to do with each other. In many cases, you may be dealing with trade secrets. For example, one of the things people talk about is, well, the protocol is open source. Do you know what the word open source actually means? Open source does not mean available on the internet. Those are two completely different words. Open source simply means it is intended to be shared and no one has ownership over it. That's what open source means. On the other hand, just because it's on the internet doesn't make it open source.
That's right.
So New York Times stuff, when you put it up there,
that's the best way. That's the most efficient way to make something open source.
No, it's not.
No.
For example, the code for
like GitHub,
Linux.
all of GitHub is
all of GitHub code for Linux is open source. I'm explicitly saying I don't own this. Anyone can use it.
Right.
On the other hand, I take my photo and put it on the internet does not mean I gave you ownership of my photograph.
True.
So same way the government puts out my data onto clinicaltrials.gov or takes my protocol and puts it on clinicaltrials.gov. It just means it's on a public website. Doesn't mean I gave up ownership of that data.
So Robert goes to a pharmacy and then a year later gets junk mail.
But it does mean. Sorry, I just wanted to say it does mean because it's on a public database or public forum. It is open to the public, and there's no need.
It is available to access. That does not mean you can do anything with it.
No, but you can. You can discuss it and share it, right? Because it's on a public forum without a CDA. You don't own it, but you don't need a CDA.
Correct.
To proliferate it.
Correct. So it may not be subject to confidentiality provisions in the same way. So it may not be subject to confidentiality. However, it may still be subject to ownership rights.
Sure. No, that
including manipulation.
Absolutely.
This guy knows his shit. I wouldn't fuck with Darshan.
I want to make one correction. I haven't had a chance to do it. It's bothering the shit out of me. I way overstated T1 lines, right? They're not 1 terabyte.
Fact check. Community notes will shut you down.
Yes, I just want it out there in public forum, so a million.
That's open source. Community notes. It's
that's why I didn't comment on 1 terabyte and stuff because I was like, I don't remember that. It could have been 1 terabyte for all
I was right about the constant data, but it's nowhere near 1 terabyte.
Well, the point of all this,
I think it was a gigabyte or something. Is my recollection.
It's 1.5 megabytes.
Is it 1.5 megabytes? Oh shit! Okay, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
Dial up 2400K baud. Bing bing.
Yeah, right.
Well, what got us here, what got us to this point in the conversation was people using tools, whether they're sites, sponsors, CROs, individuals, to help them do their task, right? Irrespective of what the law says. Or what they may and how they may interpret the law. Ultimately, I think that wins versus policing it if given enough time. And so there was a futurist back in the 50s. I think he said humans are the sex organelles for the robots. So everyone's just uploading all this shit. ultimately the robots, the machines get the information, and we create like this, like Chris says, maybe AGI one day. So
ASI they're talking about now. New term to me. That's the first time I
what
heard
is
it
that?
today.
What does the S stand for? Supreme?
Something like that. It's shit.
There's
We're gonna have new religions too.
there's
Y'all better
artificial-
bow down.
So
There's gonna be a new Bible and everything.
I thought S is singularity, to be honest.
it's artificial super intelligence.
Super.
So that's gonna be digital twins, where they're like. I actually think 100 years from now, you don't need research sites. I
Wow,
think
100
this
years.
is
I
a
don't think it's
very.
going to take that long.
How long do you think it takes?
No, I mean,
they
they're
were
already
saying
getting.
3 to 5 years until AGI,
No.
which I don't agree with.
I'm
I think it's
talking
at
about
least 20
digital
years.
twins.
No.
Digital twins.
Hold on. They just announced that they're getting rid of animals for animal
Right.
testing.
For maps, for monoclonal.
Yeah.
For monoclonal antibodies and some biologics.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So if that's true, they're saying, and I think they're wrong to be perfectly blunt, but they're saying that we think we're close enough to be able
Close enough
to be able
Well,
to.
Darshan, I have some actual insight to this.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think like when you look at, like reproductive toxicity, cytotox,
Yeah.
there are a lot of platforms available out there that you can literally, so if I'm a pharma company and I'm in R&D and I simply want to know before I put this asset forward, am I going to have any reprotox issues with this compound? I can simply answer that question using human data and human platforms.
Do you know what that platform is? Because I'll tell you what it is.
In my case, I do know what it is, but I'm not in a
No,
position.
the reason I'm
to-
saying that is I work for the largest company that did that.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
so what
relatively
happened?
familiar with it. I haven't
That's Chevron?
tracked it for about a decade, but I know where it was about a
But
decade.
don't you feel as, a medical professional that is better insight because we have a problem with
Why is it
correlative
an or
animal.
situation?
What's that?
Why is it an or situation? Why is it
Well,
not an and situation?
It's an or situation because oftentimes we lean on animal data
Sure.
and we expect it to be correlative in humans, and it's not 1-to-1 oftentimes.
But that would be true with tech data as well.
Well, I'm not talking tech, Darshan. I'm talking animal into humans, right? I'm gathering preclinical animal NHP data, let's call it.
Sure.
And I'm using that data to go file an IND and go into humans, right?
Yep.
I did all the animal studies, the repro, the cytotox, the dermal tox, PK, PD, everything.
Yep.
And I'm going into humans with this preclinical data.
Yeah.
How many times, if that was such a good model, and again, I'm not for one way or the other. I think there needs to be some hybrid blend contextually based on the type of asset we're studying. But what I'm trying to say here is like, how many times do we get that preclinical data? We go into the phase 1 only to fail. If that
100% agree with you.
Right, if that preclinical model was so good and it was predictive of what we're going to see in humans, then why is the phase 1 failure rate so high? Whereas the contrary to that is if we have if we have a human model to answer the same questions in human tissue preclinically to go into humans, it should be theoretically 1-to-1.
But it's not.
Why?
For multiple reasons. So the human tissue model is often an isolated system. So when you're taking an isolated system and trying to test it, you're not going to get complex results.
True. I'm with you on that.
So what you do need is actually what we're doing right now. I mean, we've been doing this now for decades. And in fact, I believe the company, and I don't want to speak to it right now because I don't speak for them in any way. And I haven't kept up with the technology, to be clear. But my understanding is that you have to, like 98% of all studies go through them anyways. So we're already doing that. We're acknowledging the fact that the results are not as great. So we need to be doing better screening. And that's what we're using these tools for. And then you augment that with complex systems. So you test it out in simple systems, then you test it out into complex systems, and then you go into humans, which makes sense to me. Now, having said that, I'm actually an animal rights. Like I'd love to not freaking inflict pain on animals.
Agreed.
But the downside is I'm a human rights person, so I don't want to inflict pain on humans either. And that's what we're choosing between right now. We've got into a hardcore biologics, like actual medical discussion, so we can back out of it right now.
But don't
So
they
things
harm
don't get
patients? Like phase 1, the whole purpose of a phase 1 study is maximum tolerated dose.
No,
You're basically putting healthy volunteer.
Not
you're
always.
not
no.
doing maximum tolerated doses on phase ones.
Yeah, no, dose rangings are usually phase 2, but it's you're putting. I mean, it depends, right? It's not a one size fits all. I mean, there's plenty of phase 1s that use diseased populations. There's plenty of phase 1s that use healthy volunteers.
Yeah,
it's very therapeutically aligned and dependent. I think the broader scheme here. You're right. We're going way too down the rabbit hole here, but I think the broader arching theme here is that, to Darshan's point, it may, simple system versus complex system, answering a single question, whether or not this is going to have an effect, and then we don't see that. We expect to see that because it's in a human model, simple model, not a complex model, is kind of a silly assumption. And he's absolutely right. I agree with that. So I think I think this is a long process, Darshan. I don't think this is going to be phased out. It's not going to be phased out like overnight. It's specific to cell and gene, monoclonal antibodies, biologics.
Wouldn't that be the worst place to start it, though?
In my opinion, I think so.
If I was going to do it, let's do small molecules, because you at least know what you're dealing with.
Exactly, and you can easily tell, is this small molecule going to cause reproductive toxicity?
Right.
Simple,
Right.
No, I agree with you absolutely.
So, what do you think that had anything to do with the Inflation Reduction Act and how they're trying to revamp that the whole thing from the 11 years?
You mean the Innovation Reduction Act?
Well, there's like a 4-year gap between small molecule and biologics for patent exclusivity. No. So
yeah,
what was
I think it's 3 years. It's 7 and 4, right?
What are you talking about? I lost that.
11 and 7, I think it was.
Are you talking about biologics?
The biologics.
It's definitely not 11.
I thought it was 8 years is biologics.
No, 7.
Has it changed? Like maybe I have not been monitoring that. So
was that I know this administration is pro, when it comes to research, at least, I guess they say efficiency and price controls.
That's not
how does that help that? This is kind of like our talk tomorrow. I want to discuss this tomorrow, but maybe a preview for that, since we're kind of on this topic. Price controls is the next shoe to drop after tariffs. Drug prices. He's telegraphed this, and if anything about Trump, he's consistent with what he says. He's been telegraphing that. Yeah, I mean, he said he's been doing tariffs since the 80s. Like, everyone's surprised. He's been talking about tariffs since the 80s.
He's been
talking. I thought he's been doing tariffs. I was like, wait, what does that even mean?
He's not bluffing. So the next thing he's talking about is drug prices. He specifically said
that has nothing to do with tariffs. I mean, he might do it to buy
it's
tariffs.
An example. Tariffs is A. This is B. Drug pricing. And people are saying, oh, well, no, he's just talking shit. No, he's actually serious about it. So that's coming next to the industry. I don't know how that affects research and development. How that affects clinical research.
Completely affects.
That's what I want to get into.
We can talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. It's a cold summer.
I have a grok, dude. It's going to be a cold winter too, man, at this rate.
It's just cold.
You know what, though? Here's the thing. I don't see it at my site. I've been saying this for 3 years.
Not yet.
You said that. You guys all said that in 2021. So when is not yet? Like 25, 26?
Well, it's like predicting when the stock market is going to drop. I can't predict that for you. I just know that it's going to happen.
Well, that already happened. That's easy to predict.
I know. Believe me, I know.
I should have bought last week instead of the week before. What an idiot.
I thought you did okay.
No, I'm not doing okay. I'm getting creamed. Who's doing okay?
Actually, I think Berkshire Hathaway is doing okay.
Yeah, Berkshire.
Yeah,
people that invest in gold. Yeah,
he's all
Nancy Pelosi's doing pretty well.
Nancy Pelosi's always doing okay. She needs to write the book Poor Nancy's Almanac.
Teaching Berkshire Hathaway.
Who needs Charlie Munger? When that Nancy comes out, I'm throwing this in the trash. Picking up Nancy Pelosi's book.
The first line will be "Get a seat in Congress, dude." I mean, that's rule number one.
I don't think
Darshan doesn't believe this is possible. He thinks corruption's not possible in the U.S. government. No,
I've seen corruption. I know corruption. It's not the same level.
No, the guy that was receiving gold bars from Abu Dhabi, Senator Menendez, no big deal. Putting him under his bed.
That's blatant.
Yeah,
even that's not crazy. Even that is
doesn't
not
exist.
Crazy.
Yeah,
dude, I've seen corruption at levels you wouldn't believe.
No, I can imagine.
Where, at the Chevron on pump 4 or where? Do you let them put those little scanners to steal credit card info, or
that'd be stealing from me?
Do you police that?
You do realize I would be the one getting screwed here, right?
No, your customers would.
No, he gets
but
screwed.
He's
How do we
actually
know you're-
ingesting the data via AI, and he's
Yeah, you're
distributing it
investing
via
it.
open
You're
source,
uploading everyone's credit
right
card
to the dark web,
right to the dark web.
right to there. And
Greedy
Darshan
says,
is
"I'm not
selling
sure
credit
how it
cards.
affects us in Australia. You're giving me chills." This
Yeah.
is what.
Well,
Guru
this
After
is what
Dark
happened. Yeah.
about.
Well, no, this is not what Guru After Dark is.
Well,
Let
I,
me
No,
be
think, I
clear.
think China's taking over.
This
aren't
is
they?
this is what Darshan and Dan's
This is what
fraud
Darshan
pod
Rod
gives
Pod
you.
gives you the chills and the runs if it's the morning.
You run.
But in Australia, it's the morning. So good morning.
The After Dark is supposed to be lighthearted, kind of
Lighthearted,
comical,
have a
little
whiskey,
fun, have a
just
whiskey.
chill a little.
Guys, so listen real quickly.
Live a little.
Speaking,
Upload a few protocols to Grok. while
hey,
you're at it.
speaking of whiskey, I'm on the phone with this, Ivy League doc who three-peated undergrad, med school, and residency. And
Red flags. Red flags.
no, guys, seriously, it was like 5:15 at night. I shouldn't be giving this many details, but like I'm sitting there very stone cold serious to have this like very hardcore conversation with a very studious individual. And he's sitting there just kind of like this, and all of a sudden in comes this, he's just sipping on whiskey. And I'm like, wow, that is, I love this. And I kind of wanted to say, hey, Doc, you mind if I put you on hold and grab myself a bourbon, And as the whiskey was going down, I mean, the talk was just getting more and more interesting. So
Nice,
that's
man.
what After Dark is all about. It's kind
After
of
Dark's
just
just chill. We're in a train, like kind of a train wreck right now. No, during Guru After Dark, I want all the gloom doom predictions. So there's this. Maybe we'll end it on a positive note because it's supposed to be positive ultimately. Clinical. There's this. Let's just say analysis that has come out from private equity about sites, and sites are the new power players in the industry. And so for the next decade, the wave, besides AI, and is consolidation, but also consolidation as a function of sites rising. Like PE doesn't go after something that's not powerful and rising. So independent sites coming up. Do you think there's a world where the economy maybe doesn't do that well for a few years, but research still booms, kind of like during COVID, like the 6 months to a year of COVID? It was like everyone was afraid. I remember sitting at home thinking, shit, we're gonna close down our site, or what are we gonna do? And no, it was like 3 months later, you're just getting feasibility after feasibility, and everyone's getting busy. Do you think there's a world where we can have doom and gloom, but also a very healthy research and development industry, or does that go hand in hand with the doom and gloom?
I mean, there's a world where it happens. I just don't know what the details are.
Well, if you're doing the spraying money everywhere, right? Like at the conference, Robert.
Yep.
That was good. I got $45 out of that.
There you go. and put a few zeros on that. And that was what was happening during COVID, right?
Sure.
Everybody was getting money because printer was going mad. So it'll be different if the economy's crashing, but we're not shut down. They don't have justification for just winging money everywhere.
Well, here's where I'm getting at. This is more nuanced, more like specific to our industry.
No, I understand what you're saying. What happened in 2008 when the
right.
crashed.
So we got my site recently got this weird study. I've never seen this type of study before. It was offered by a @edu email, and they're like, "Yeah, we need sites for this." I mean, I only got contacted once in 20 years from a @edu email for a study, and then I talked to other colleagues, and they're like, "Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of these since that NIH cuts." So I don't know if they're outsourcing their studies that they got, but they can't do, like they don't have a budget for. They're basically the middleman now to do the study, the de facto sponsor.
No, you can't really do that.
Well, they are. Well, I don't know how I got the study then.
I'd need more details. There's something odd about that.
It's all anecdotal. I mean,
so that I understand exactly what you're saying. You're saying the NIH sent the study to, say, Harvard, and Harvard sending you the study.
Harvard's like now the sponsor on behalf of the sponsor.
There are specific types of trials where you can do that. But that's not routine. It's
right,
unusual.
but we're not in routine times either. I mean, 90%.
No, but those have to be designed specifically. It's too soon to be allowed to do that.
But even if it's code red and like everyone's kind
Yeah,
of
it doesn't
figuring
matter.
things out,
Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
so it's something. There's something. I don't know what that is.
It could be something for all I know.
Yeah,
But
correlation, causation. I don't. That's what After
Yeah.
Dark's for, man. Talking shit, trying to figure things out. Where the
Right.
fuck else am I gonna get this info? Center Watch?
Is that still
Trying to
around?
solve the
They
world
don't give you-
problem.
they don't give you a
Behind
free
like 5
subscription to it?
paywalls. I can't talk about what they want, but yeah. Let's just say I told them no.
Oh, okay.
No CDA was signed, so I could say a lot more, but I won't. They're irrelevant. Pretty soon it's gonna be gone.
Why? We'll have a different discussion on that.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Going to be gone?
Make sure I'm there
NIH
for
or
that.
Center Watch?
No, NIH is kind of already going away, but Center Watch. It's like old school legacy media.
That used to
Let's
give you a book this thick.
A book
Mhm.
this thick of FDA. Here's a grift. You want a grift? Let's write a book. It has this content in it. Okay, basically, not as good. This content, but it's the size of a phone book, and then they sell it for $300. And I bought this back in the day in 05. Fuck, I don't know shit about research, and I have a site. Let me buy this shit. These guys are like the authority. It's just the printed. It's platitudes, and then it's the rest of it is like the printed
Bless
Code
you.
of Federal Regulations that I could have got for free. Just put in a book. How is that legal? A, ethical. B, and then how is that still around? C.
So I can answer the legal part.
And you might need to defend me when they come after me.
The legal part is technically no one owns a copyright to the CFR.
Open source.
So that's actually open source.
It's open source. See?
You can't edit it. Yeah, anyone can publish it.
So they can make money off the government.
Yeah, it's why I can take a picture of Trump, because you don't actually own. If the government creates it, they don't own the copyright. Like they don't control the copyright on it.
Could you
people
sell
own it.
your own? Could you sell your own version of a MAGA hat? Would you wear it?
I don't wear anyone's hat.
Okay.
What are you wearing, by the way? What is your hat right now? Yeah, the one you're wearing right now.
Anaheim Angels. I got it on
okay.
sale.
Yeah, I mean I'm huge in sports, so I know exactly what that means.
I just like good deals, man. I'm a hat collector, and I like finding steals, like good prices.
Fair enough.
But that's a nice way of deflecting my question. But okay, I see. What
I don't
you
wear
did.
anyone's hat.
Right.
I'm
So
not
you would wear a
even involved.
MAGA, but maybe not. Is that the answer?
You'll never know.
Dark MAGA? Is that okay?
You'll never know.
When
Chris
the
got a
camera goes
Kindred.
off, when the
Chris
camera
got a
goes off,
Kindred.
Darshan's goes on.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, this administration, they're telegraphing what they're gonna do, yet you're still surprised when that happens.
Because
They've
no
said
one's insane enough to do some of the things they're saying they're gonna do.
They've been saying they're going to do it for 2 years. People are
But then
still
they add
shocked
all
when
this
it happens.
They make it
extra, they add all
more
this
sane in many
extra
cases.
shit too.
Here's what we're going to do, people, and then it's done. And people
Yeah,
just freak
exactly.
out.
Right,
It's
but
like
then they
it's-
go
yeah.
like, so they telegraph that here's what we're gonna do, but then what comes out is like that version on steroids. Like
Yeah,
nobody
dude.
would think anyone would actually do that, and then they do it, which obviously leaves people in
Well, you have two sets of politicians. You have, here's what I promised to do you, and I ain't doing shit of that when I get elected. They're saying in the back of their mind, or I'm going to do this
So
on
let me phrase
steroids.
it differently. Do you really believe by the end of whatever 4 years of Trump, we're going to either own or control Canada, Greenland, and or Panama?
So I don't. Well, me personally, I don't ever think he made a promise of doing any of that. So
Well, he's
I'm
claimed he
not-
has, including today.
No, you didn't promise that's going to happen during his campaign. But
Ambitions, right.
he said he wants those things. He just didn't promise them.
So what's the difference between want and promise?
Well,
Action.
want is a goal. Promise is something you're going to do. Period.
promise requires action.
So
Want is
wouldn't
an
when he
action.
was not president, isn't everything a goal?
No, if you elect me, I promise these things will happen. A promise
If you-
is quite a different thing than saying, I hope to be able to accomplish this.
I hope you know.
I'd have to
the
look at the
ladder.
language. I'd have to look at the language. In the end,
I think a promise is philosophy, and then a goal or actually doing it is the work.
Well, if I promise to do something for you, I intend to do it. It's going to happen. Right?
okay.
If I say I would like to do something for you, I'm giving myself an out.
Okay.
I see that. Well, we don't know what we're gonna get, and then I want to talk about this IRA thing.
Well, I
for-
need to call
for
it though,
drug-
dude. It's
drug
like
prices.
it's almost midnight here.
Yeah.
Well,
we-
it's
we
after dark,
appreciate it,
Darshan.
man.
It's
Yeah,
after, I mean, this is
after
a real
all,
after dark.
we're only consistent with what the title of the show is. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's late.
but you guys have the easy part because you guys are actually in like California on the West Coast. It's like 10 o'clock for you. It's midnight for me.
It's
Yeah.
no, it's 8:49.
I'm never getting up at 6 a.m. to talk to you, Darshan. Just FYI.
No, this is 7. We're doing 7.
I don't even blame you, Chris. I really
Thank
don't.
you.
We're doing 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 for those of you in Philadelphia and the like. Thank you, Darshan, for
So,
coming.
gentlemen, it was a pleasure. I will talk to you all soon.
You have a good evening, Darshan.
Bye.
Good
All right,
night's sleep.
Darshan.
Likewise.
Good night, guys.
Take it easy.
Well, there goes Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga's gone. He's good at like deflecting certain
Questions he doesn't want to answer.
He is the quintessential attorney.
Right. Asher
You
says,
know?
poor Darshan. Yeah. I don't feel too sorry for him. We'll see him again in the morning. So, how do you guys think this Guru After Dark went? Do you like it?
It's fun.
I had a great time.
I laugh. If I laugh a lot, I enjoyed it. I laughed plenty.
Preeti said, give
I've
some
been
hope.
literally laughing all day.
I think I'm actually optimistic. I'm always optimistic.
Yes, you are. You've toned it down actually in the last 5 years. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I do see a world, to answer my own question from like 15 minutes ago, where R&D does well. I don't think sites are here forever, but I do think we're in the golden era of sites. Like this decade will mark, COVID will mark like the start. I don't know when the end is. I hope 2040-ish, if we have that long, but maybe not. But I think we're in the golden era of sites. We just came out of the golden era of CROs, like from the 80s till the 2020s. CROs ran this shit. A lot of wealth was created there. So I think this next decade and a half, maybe 2 if we're lucky, is the golden era for sites. I don't know what comes next. Clearly AI can't be ignored, and the digital twins, and I don't know. It just depends on a lot of things that we can't foresee, but I do think we are in the golden era for sites. I think the data demonstrates that, and the money demonstrates that, and the private equity, that's the smart money, demonstrates that too.
This is probably one of the most common questions I answer, right? Because I take calls from potential clients all the time. And I probably on average get this asked once a week. Is now a good time to open a site? And I say, well, I can't tell the future, right?
It's better now than 2039.
Well, and I do tell them it's better now than 2008, right? And I go into why. But I said if that should happen again, I would expect the same results, right? So no one can predict when there's market downturns and severe recession.
Yeah, and Chris, I think there's more like meat to the bones there in terms of like answering that question. It's what are the motives? Like, why are you doing it? What do you want out of it? You know, the people that are jumping in our industry that owned, you know, I don't want you guys already, Dan, you know who I'm talking about here. I think the motive and the intention is a big differentiator. You know, because again,
but nobody jumps into a new business to be unsuccessful. Right?
Of course, Chris. But I think our niche in research is an entirely different animal that is not like, you know, it's just different. Like when you're working with, I don't know, it's not a commodity. You're not selling, you know, a product, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you are, but you're not. I mean, there's human beings involved here, and whether you want to be altruistic or not, as it pertains to opening a site. I don't know. I just think intention is really important. And whether or not as a sponsor representative, I work with certain sites has a lot to do with the intention. And you can tell mills from non-mills. It's very, very easy to spot those out. I mean, they literally have smoke, carrier pigeons, flames, red bells and whistles. Like just
all this is literally happening, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's all just like, it's so blaringly obvious, right?
Sure.
So versus the sites who are like, you know what, I would love to do this study, but I have a reputation to uphold. And as much as I want to help you, I can't do this right now. Please come back to me later. That's way more admirable than just being a yes and saying, yeah, let's go. And there's a lot less of the latter than there are of the prior. And so I'm just saying, like, I've come across sites where they've literally been like, look, I would love to help you, but and that to me is very admirable. That's not That's a
Sure.
well-intentioned site.
Sure,
You
that's
know,
what
and-
you want to see as a sponsor. But what the question you're answering is different than the one I was answering.
Yeah, probably.
Well, no doubt about it.
No, I mean, Chris, listen, how much wine have you had? You know,
A fair amount.
His camera
Fair-
got blurry.
I mean,
fair amount.
you're
But
still telling me to
nonetheless-
register. You're still telling me to register for Save Our Sites on the bottom right hand corner.
Omni.
Chris.
Well, I think we still need to sell more rooms.
I mean, what's going on over here?
It's just the background. I was lazy and didn't feel like
No,
changing
just-
it. But
I-
yeah,
nonetheless,
I just noticed that. Great, astute observation by Robert.
how do you not notice this? But
I
anyhow,
just so used to it, man. I'm like, okay, that's his
Sure.
background.
you would have noticed.
Yeah, what
you
are
would
you
have
doing
noticed if
selling
it said
that?
Omni.
Yeah, no more Omni, man. That's another one that's on my shit list.
I won't stay at one for no, but you know, guys, honestly, like I'm not a doom and gloom type of person. I think that some slash in regulation and timelines and bureaucracy at the federal level will be good for everybody. I really do, especially for sponsors. I just think that people are a little gun shy right now because we just don't know where this story is going to end. And once it kind of unfolds and you know the new norm kind of becomes the norm, all this is going to be behind us. You know, I mean, I'm not terribly like, it doesn't keep me up at night. I really, it's just, you've got to just keep your head down, do your work. Everybody, I'm talking to everybody in the industry right now. Just let's go about it. Worrying about it isn't going to do anything. You know, having dialogue is fine, but you know, I'm still moving forward. I've got, you know, a lot of studies in the pipeline. We're going to execute those studies and we're going to do them the best that we possibly can. And we're going to bring, you know, options to the market that aren't here today, you know, and I think that's just the mission. And until otherwise, we just keep going.
As long as you've got 16 calls on your calendar the next
Push
day,
it forward. Yeah.
things
Push
are
it
actually
forward.
good. Things are good.
I mean, yeah, I think, well, you know, the appetite of the interest for the study that you're doing, coupled with the fact that you need funding to do the studies, Dan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at my most recent post on LinkedIn about, you know, big sponsors that
big.
you know, the Goliath versus David, right? I mean, not all sponsors are created the same. So, I mean, that was a real message that I put forward, you know, think about it, check it out, read it, engage it. There's been a lot of good reactions to it, but I'm just saying, I think, you know, for now, worrying and speculating and postulating isn't going to do us any good.
Yeah.
And we just kind of have to see how this story is going to end, if it ends at all.
And you got to always look at your role within the industry at the same time as you're looking at the overall industry, and kind of how After Dark was born, you know, helping individuals and figuring out. And you've gotten people hired, as we've documented, and because of this show. So
yeah, we
can help other people out there weather the storm till the sun shines again. I mean, it's sunny in some places and very cold in others. And we've got respect and empathy for them, but ultimately, you know, not everything is in our control, but your own career is in your control, my opinion.
To a degree.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, Dan, we should go out with our theme song.